Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Termites are in the air right now, so nix them while you can. Start with free inspections, free estimates from Southeast Termite and Pest Control. And if it's been 10 years since your last treatment of your home, termite treatment, probably a good idea to have another inspection done and perhaps another treatment done. Those things usually last about 10 years. I use these folks at my house. I hope you will too. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, locally owned, family owned, good folks, really good folks. Let them help you prevent termite invasion. All right, gentlemen, two quick questions. We still got to talk quarterback race, Jawan Jennings, Trey Smith, Derek Barnett, and much more. Andy Staples of Sports Illustrated believes that Butch Jones' job will be safe if he competes in the SEC East this year. What is competing? 1 game back, 2 games back? Anyway, if he competes, do you agree that competing in the East saves Butch Jones?
Not necessarily. What if the East is just absolutely awful and everybody's floundering around at 4-4 and you've lost another game outside of the conference? So not necessarily.
Okay, not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think you can put a blanket statement on the East itself or a record, either or.
Okay, I agree with that. Gentlemen, will he be safe if he competes in the East?
I think so. I mean, I'm not the guy, with my name on the football buildings over there, but I would think so, especially when you take into consideration what he goes into the season with. But being competitive to me is being competitive. I mean, it means it shows that you're a championship contender, and if things would have gone this way or that way, maybe you'd have a chance, John.
To me, it means you're contending for a title in November. But then if you fall short again, what does that mean? Have you lost another late game? So no, I'd want a little bit better definition, and then I'm still saying I don't think so.
Agreed, and that's what we're going to do next Sunday. That's why we're going to, it's not just going to be a blanket statement. If you go 7-5, no, we're going to have some scenarios. You go 7-5, but these are your 5 losses. Or you go 8-4, but your 4 losses all come late. We'll talk about all that kind of stuff next week on our Big Orange and White Game show. Quickly had someone say to me this week how bad a coach Butch Jones is. And it got me thinking, I hear that all the time. I see that all the time on the message boards and on Twitter. He's a bad coach, terrible coach. You can argue he's not a championship coach in the SEC. He's won championships at 2 previous stops. He hasn't won a championship in the SEC. Hasn't really come close to a championship in the SEC. So you can't say he's a championship coach. But if you had to say good coach or bad coach for the SEC, is he a good coach or a bad coach?
Good coach. Well, there's so many facets that are involved in this. Now, do you mean by good coach, good game day coach, or great game day coach? Well, somebody else probably needs to decide that. But in terms of recruiting, in terms of the motivation, a lot of the things that he does qualifies him, to me, without question, as being a good football coach.
Well, what is it? Over the last 19 games, I think only Alabama has won more games than Tennessee, and they won 2 more than Florida and Georgia. So he's got some momentum. He's 4 years removed from the most historically dark program in Tennessee football history, and only 3 years removed from probation. So under those circumstances,
Florida actually has 1 more win. Alabama has several. Florida has 1 more win.
The last 19 games. Not
the
last
I'm sorry,
2 seasons.
last 2 seasons. All right.
19 games. They have 15-4.
It's an interesting cutoff, but all right. Very good.
And Mike's name is on a football building. I was over there earlier with a can of spray paint, so congratulations. I think he's a good football coach. And I mean, and like Chuck said, there's so many other things. I mean, there's the off-the-field stuff that has improved incredibly.
It has improved a ton.
I think he is a good football
behavior.
coach. But no, until he wins a championship, he's obviously not a championship football coach. And there are a lot of good football coaches who haven't won championships. Not the great ones do, but you got a lot of good ones that haven't.
Well, as we were talking about in between the segments here, in the SEC, Saban, Malzahn has 1. That's it for championships in the SEC. Josh Ward, in terms of your current roster of coaches, is he a good coach or a bad coach?
Without hesitation, a good coach. I don't know how you can watch him beat Florida, beat Georgia back-to-back years, play well against Oklahoma. I know lose, but that's a playoff team.
Beat what turned out to be a good Virginia Tech team.
Yeah, yes. I don't know how you can see all of those performances, have back-to-back top 25 seasons, and not say he's at least a good coach.
You don't rebuild in the SEC as quickly as he did. With no NCAA smoking. I mean, Hugh Freeze did it, and you see the NCAA has been on his rear since the day he got down there. You haven't seen that at Tennessee. You don't turn around a team in the SEC that was as down as Tennessee was, get it to 9-4 in back-to-back years, top 25 back-to-back. That means, by definition, he's a top 25 coach the last 2 years. You don't do all that without being a good coach. Whether he's a great coach
Exactly.
is the question.
Yeah.
But all these people that run around and say, well, he's a bad coach. No, that you're running pretty loose with the definition there. He's not the oaf people make him out to be.
Did you see that the Alabama assistant got a show cause penalty for recruiting infractions? One of their coaches did a 2-year show cause. Nothing happens to Alabama program. Business as usual, turn the page.
Oh, I get tired of that kind of stuff.
But it's
Yeah,
out
okay.
there.
All right. Each situation is differently. I haven't delved into that one. I really don't think the NCAA takes care of certain programs.
North Carolina
if they did,
basketball.
why didn't they take care of Alabama when they just crushed them under Mike DeBose? So I don't believe the NCAA sits
I don't
there
think
and plays
Mark Emmett
favorites.
was in charge back then.
Okay, here we go. Conspiracy theorist. When we come back, just what you want to hear. He feeds the people. All right. When we come back, rapid fire questions on Juwan Jennings and Trey Smith. Come on back on the Sports Source.